Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to T's Time. I'm TJ. Thank you for tuning in. Today we're taking a little break from the van build. I have other like maintenance things I need to do. Bike, the pickup. I have things to do. But today I'm going to show you how to do the 1500-mile service on a 78 Honda CB550, which includes oil change. I'm not going to show you that. If you need to see how to do that, click the link up top in this video. I was doing an oil change and getting it back up and running. So you need to do oil change in this order: oil change, your chain tension adjustment, and then your valve lash. So that's what we're gonna do right now. And to make life easier, you do need to remove, or I remove my fuel tank just to give me room to gain access to the tappet covers right here, and that's where you're gonna adjust your valve lash on your exhaust and your intake. So we're gonna get into the process. I'm gonna show you how to, and if you don't already have one, a manual is highly suggested. That's what I use, that's what I go by, and follow instructions. So if you don't have the manual, I'm going to show you how to do this in a video, make life a little easier for you. But let me get things set up, and we're going to get this happening today. Remove fuel tank, and the tools you need, if you have the factory tappet covers on there, it's a 17mm wrench to remove that. 10mm is usually found all over the place, even for to adjust the chain tension and the valve lash. 10mm flathead screwdriver, yeah. And then also you need to be able to measure for your exhaust, your intake, your valve lash. So some of these guys right here, I believe we're gonna need, what is it, 2/1000ths of an inch and 3/1000ths of an inch. I'm gonna double check that in the manual to make sure I'm correct on that. I don't want to give you the wrong information. If anything, it's always best to have a wider gap than a smaller gap. A smaller gap could lead to a lot of wear and tear and extra excess on the valve train. You end up snapping like rocker arms and stuff like that if it's too tight. If it's loose, it's just going to be like a little clanky, a little noisy, but like it's safer. But I'm gonna just go by the manual, which it says, for the manual, it says, where are you? Okay. All right, for your filler gauge, for the intake, it's going to be a 2/1000ths of an inch, and then for your exhaust, it's going to be a 3/1000ths of an inch. All right, here, and that's for a CB 500, 550, and if you're doing a 350 to 400, those will apply, 2/1000 inch for both. But we're focused on the 550, so our intake, we need 2/1000ths of an inch, and exhaust, we're going to need a 3/1000ths of an inch. And we're going to go through and get this situated, but let me get things set up, get the tank removed, get the tappet covers removed, and we're just going to get this going. So yeah, and also to remove your timing case cover right here, just so you could turn the motor over, and then you can just see where you get things aligned up, because you're going to need to be able to find your top dead center and stuff like that. But we'll explain all of that. Let me get stuff situated, and yeah. And with the tappet cover removed right there, you can see the adjuster, that 10mm, and then that spot on the top with the little flathead is how you adjust the up and down. And if you could tell, where the side with your carbs, this is your intake, the side with your exhaust is the exhaust side. So remove all of those, and to make it easier to turn over the motor, you can remove your spark plugs and use this to turn over, or if you have a kickstart equipped, you can use that to turn the motor over. Just to make life a little easier, you could just use this little crank bolt right here to rotate the engine to get it, find your top dead center, and you do have your timing marks. So I'll show you all that in a second to find your top dead center. So yeah. All right, so now that we have our tappet covers removed, we're exposing our rocker arms. We're checking for top dead center, but before we do that, you need to know which cylinder is which. We need number 1 to be at top dead center. So the cylinders go pretty much straight across. This is cylinder 1 on the left side. Work your way over to the right. So we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. And right now, to find top dead center, you need, let's see, we gotta brighten that up. You see the 1 and 4 in there. That's your timing and firing marks for those. So in order for it to know that it's at top dead center, there's a couple ways you could do that. You could use the screwdriver down the spark plug just to see if you get to the highest point. But the correct way, the best way to find top dead center is to make sure that your rocker arms have free play, which means both your intake and exhaust valves are closed. So this is number 4, so that's loose. We need number 1 to be loose, and they are not. So we need to rotate this right here, this timing mark again, 360 degrees, so we can get that number 1 to be exactly at top dead center. So we're gonna rotate. Until there goes 2 and 3. And there's 1 and 4. Let's see if you can pick that up. That's 1 and 4. And you need that timing mark, the T, to line up with that mark right there in the case. So that should be top dead center. And to find that out, number 1, we should have free play on both, which we do. So we're gonna go ahead, and we need to have 15 degrees. Is it before? 15 degrees after top dead center to adjust the belt chain tensioner. So in order to do that, we have our timing mark. You're gonna rotate this to 15 degrees. Once you rotate it, you'll see a spring inside of there, right there. You need that to be just past that up and down, that case marking that we're using to line up the T with. You gotta really to line up like so. Right there. And that is 15 degrees after top dead center. So you have that. So now you're gonna go ahead, you're gonna loosen your adjuster for your chain tensioner, and that is right in there. That's 10 millimeters. And then there's a little flathead, as you can see. That is self-adjusting. So when you loosen that, you rotate, and then it should self-set, and then tighten it back up. All right, and then when you do loosen this right here, if it doesn't self-adjust, that little flathead that will fit in there, you want to turn that counterclockwise until it stops, and then retighten that. That's if it doesn't self-adjust when you loosen that 10 millimeter. So if it does that, you don't need to do that. But if you do turn that, you don't notice any movement, or even you just want to check, turn that with a flathead screwdriver, and it should, the adjuster screw, turn that counterclockwise until it stops. And then you could just even use the flathead screwdriver to keep it in place, and then retighten that 10 millimeter. So we're going to do that right now. All right, that is fully loosened right now. And just to double check, we're gonna take our flathead screwdriver, and we're gonna rotate that adjuster screw counterclockwise. All right, it's kind of tight in there. So what I'm going to do, what I like to do, I like to hold the screwdriver there, hold that counterclockwise as I tighten that 10 millimeter nut, just to make sure it's good and it doesn't move. So do that. I'm just gonna, it's hard to kind of get the camera in there and do this at the same time. It's a little tight. Unless you have like your carbs off, then you'll have like plenty of room to do so. But I don't, so I'm gonna stick my hand in there and do the best I can to get that. Well, I'm gonna get it tightened, but like just for recording wise, I don't think I'll be able to do that, but we shall see. All right, so that's our chain tension adjustment. That's done. Now we're gonna move on to our valve adjustment right now. So remember, you're gonna need 2/1000ths of an inch and 3/1000ths of an inch filler gauge right here. Make sure you have like a good quality one. Make sure they're clean. And also, like if they're worn down, that will throw it off also. So make sure you have like a good set. And like I said before, you could go one up on that. To be on the safe side, you'd rather have loose rather than too tight. Don't break rocker arms, cause any valve damage or anything like that. And I'm scrolling through, and like I use the ones that they suggest. Make sure that your motor is cold. You don't want to do this when it's hot. That will throw everything off. So make sure it's cold. It's a nice hot day today, but the motor is cold. It hasn't been run. So yeah, trying to get everything situated right here. Actually, let me put this like so. All right, so for our intake side, it's 0.002, that's 2/1000ths of an inch, or 0.05 millimeters. And for exhaust, it's 0.003 or 0.076 millimeters. So just make sure you have some good quality ones, and make sure once we're done with this, you want to go back around and make sure that these can slide in easily without any issue. If they're too tight, go through and do it again until you get it right. Don't chance messing up your motor. Don't give yourself a headache that you don't need. But right now, as we know, we're 15 degrees past top dead center for number one. So I'm gonna go ahead and rotate, and then to find the top dead center, there's the 1 and 2, and then there's the 1 and 4, and then there's 2 and 3. So you rotate till you get your timing marks lined up, and it'll find if that cylinder is at the compression top dead center. Both sides, both valves should have play. They should be free. That means it's at top dead center. Both your intake and exhaust sides are closed. So you're gonna go through. You're just gonna do each side at a time. So right now we're at 1 and 4. All right. So we're gonna keep rotating because we're already past top dead center on that. And now we're at, that's 2 and 3. That's top dead center for either 2 or 3. Like I said before, find free play. So number 2, I don't know if you can hear that. Hear that free play? That's number 2. That's at top dead center. So go ahead and adjust that. Your filler gauge, make sure it's clean. You don't need debris. So for the intake, it's 0.02. All right, so this is intake. And that's 0.02. You see that with that reflection. But that's 0.002 intake. And I have the bends in there, as you can see. It's a little loose. rather it be loose than tight. But I'm gonna break that loose just so you can see how you adjust that. A 10mm flathead. Just crack that loose. All right, so that is loose right now. So you'll stick your 0.02 of an inch filler gauge back in there on the intake side, like so. And what I like to do is, like, as I tighten this, I like to, let's see, get it back in there. I like to move it as I tighten it so you can see the friction that's being applied to it. Make sure you keep it clean from the dirt that's on the block itself. But you get it in there like so, and then you tighten this, righty tighty, lefty loosey. You should have a little bit of drag. You don't want it too tight. You want it to still be right when it starts to drag. And then I like to leave it in and tighten it with it in there. Nice and snug, don't go crazy, don't break it. And it should be able to come out. If it slides out without any issues, it's good. And then you move on to the intake side, or the exhaust side. The exhaust side is 0.03 of an inch. All right, so that's one cylinder down. I'm gonna go ahead and do the other ones. And then, so for right now, just so you saw, just because you see like 1 or 2 and 3 doesn't mean both are at top dead center. It's gonna be either one or the other, not both. So you're not gonna adjust both on that same timing setting. So to do the other ones, so we just did 2, to do 3, you would need to rotate the crank another 360 degrees to get that at top dead center compression stroke on 3, and then you adjust that one. And it's like the same process, like to find it. Both valves should have or should be closed, so there should be a free play on both rockers, the intake and the exhaust, and then you will go through and adjust it. So make sure you go through and double check. Do not make it over tight. Do not make it less than what this is right here. If anything, have it looser rather than tighter. I can't stress that enough. But if you do that, you should be fine. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna finish getting this all situated right now. And yeah. And bada boom, bada bing, it's done, it's finished, it's adjusted, and we're good. So we have our chain tensioner adjusted, and we have our valve or tappets all adjusted. Everything is good. And like I said, if you do like the one, all you have to do to just really pay attention to what you're doing, and just the top dead center part is the most important part. For your chain adjustment, make sure it's 15 degrees past top dead center on your number 1 cylinder. So tappet covers off, find top dead center. Rocker should be loose on both the intake and exhaust. That'll be top dead center, and then you want to adjust just slightly past that where you have that little spring hanger arm. Adjust it with the initial casting alignment mark on the block. That'll be 15 degrees after top dead center, and then you just loose your adjuster down in there. Let's go over this one more time. Your adjuster right there, it's a 10mm. You want to make sure, like, if it doesn't self-adjust when you back this 10mm off, counterclockwise on the adjuster nut, and then tighten that back down. And I like to hold the adjuster with a screwdriver just so it doesn't move while I tighten that down. And then you go through, you do your top dead center on each cylinder. Remember, there's 1 and 4 have they share the same timing marks, but they won't both be on top dead center. You have to just make sure that the rocker arm is free. Emphasis on that. to find top dead center. So 1 and 4 share the same timing marks, and 2 and 3 share the same timing marks. So once you have that figured out, if you could do one, you could do them all. And like I said, 2/1000ths of an inch on your intake, 3/1000ths of an inch on your exhaust. Don't go any tighter than that. You could go up one if you want to do was it 3/1000ths on your intake and 4/1000ths on your exhaust. You'll be fine. Valves might be a little noisier, but they will be safer. You don't want those too tight, so you want to go back around after you have everything adjusted, if you need to adjust it. Like I just adjusted that just because like I had it off just to show you how to adjust, but I went through and everything was within spec. Everything was fine. Everything, the filler gauges slid in without any issues, so I was pleased with that. So right now, since I have this off, I have my timing cover off. I think for the next one, or I'm about to make another video, I do have electronic ignition. So I should make a video of at least setting the timing on your factory, your points and condensers. So these are your points, 1 and 4 side, 2 and 3 side, and then your condensers, respectively to their locations. The yellow wires, those are going up and through to your, what are we calling these? Our coil packs or spark plug wire thingamajigs. But anyways, main focus point for this video is done. We're gonna get this going. I just want to do a maintenance on it. I haven't done it in a while. I haven't really been riding it. Summertime, I like to get back on it a little bit anyway. Yeah, so to be continued for timing adjustment. We'll get on that, but I appreciate you watching. Thank you for the time. Thank you for liking, subscribing. If you have any questions, leave them down below. And remember, when you do disturb seals, it's best practice to replace those seals. So those tappet covers, you should replace those seals. That'll be the smart thing to do. As you can see, there's a little wet on the top. Some of the tappet covers were loose, but like that's a leak point, and just work smarter, not harder. So until next Wednesday, keep the shiny side up, or the semi-shiny side up, and be safe out there. Peace, TJ.